Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every man's life when the silence in his home speaks louder than the noise of the world. He wakes up to an empty room, walks through a house filled with echoes, and sits at a table where no one waits for. The world around him is rushing forward, couples holding hands, laughter in the air, love stories unfolding before. Yet he walks a different path, not because he cannot love, but because life has led him to a place where he must stand. Loneliness is not always a choice, but how a man faces it defines his strength. There are those who believe that without a partner, without a hand to hold, without a voice calling their name in the night, life is incomplete. But what if I told you that the solitude of one man can hold more power than the distractions of 1,000 voices? What if I told you that in the quiet, in the stillness, in the moments where no one watches? There in that space, a man discovers who he truly is. This is not a story of despair, nor is it a cry for sympathy. This is a story of resilience, of faith, of a man who chooses to walk this road with his head held high, knowing that his worth is not determined by whether someone stands beside him. Because when the world says, you need someone to complete you, is a deeper voice, whispering you are already whole. There is a common misunderstanding in the world today that being alone is a sign of weakness. People often assume that a man who lives without a partner, without a girlfriend, without someone constantly by his side must be lacking, must be incomplete, must be in need of fixing. But the truth is far greater than that. Solitude is not a burden. It is a gift. It is not a sign of weakness. It is a training ground for stress. Think of the great men in history, the ones who changed the course of the world. They were not always surrounded by. Many of them walked alone for long seasons of their lives. They spent time in deep thought, in prayer, in reflection. They did not fear the silence because they understood that silence is where strength is built. It is in solitude that a man truly meets himself, where he faces his deepest fears, his greatest doubts, and his most powerful dreams. When a man is alone, he is given the opportunity, develop something that many never will enter in the noise of. It is easy to lean on others to let their voices drown out the whispers of his own soul. But when he walks alone, he has no choice but to. He hears his own thoughts, his own struggles, his own questions about life. And in that process, he learns to stand. He learns to be his own anchor, his own foundation, his own. This kind of strength is not found in. It is not developed in constant company. It is forged in the fire of solitude. It is in the quiet moments when no one is watching that a man discovers what he is truly made of. He learns that his worth is not determined by who loves him, who stands beside him, or who calls his name in the night. His worth is found in his character, his integrity, his ability to walk forward even when no one is cheering him on. Society has painted a picture that a man without a woman is somehow lost. But what if he is not lost at all? If instead he is being refined? What if his solitude is not an accident, but a divine? What if this time alone is not meant to break him, but to build him? The world sees a man sitting alone and assumes he is lonely. But what if he is sitting in the presence of something greater? What if he is listening to a voice that others are too distracted to hear? Strength is not found in the easy places. It is not built in. It is shaped in the moments where a man has to face himself, where he has to wrestle with his own thoughts, where he has to decide who he will be when no one is looking. A man who learns to stand strong in solitude is a man who be shaken when the storms of life come. He has already faced his greatest battles alone, and he has won. Think of the warrior who trains in the mountains far away from the noise of the city. He does not need an audience. He does not require applause. He trains in knowing that when the time, he will be ready. He does not question his purpose simply because he walks alone. He knows that his strength is being built in the hidden places in the moments. And so it is with a man who lives alone. His life is not empty, is full of preparation. His days are not wasted. They are being used to refine him. He is not without. He is being led in ways that only those who embrace solitude can understand. He is learning patience, discipline, focus. He is developing a kind of strength that is unshakable, that is not dependent on circumstances or people. There will be times when doubt creeps in, when the world's voice tries to convince him that he is missing out, that he, complete. But those who know the power of solitude do not give in to those lies. They understand the true strength is not found in being surrounded by people, but in knowing who you are when you stand alone. A man who embraces solitude is not running from love. He is preparing for something deeper. He is not afraid of companionship. is simply not desperate for it, knows that his value is not tied to his relationship status. His worth is not measured by who chooses him. His identity is not wrapped up in whether he or not this kind of man walks with, not because he has everything, but because he knows that what he lacks does not define him. He is aware that solitude is not a curse, but a season of growth. He does not waste his days longing for someone to complete him. Instead, he uses his days to become complete within himself. And when the world looks at him, when they wonder how he can stand so strong, how he can walk with such purpose, despite being alone, they will see the truth. They will see that solitude is not a sign of weakness. It is a training ground for strength. It is where a man is made, where his heart is tested, where his soul is refined. The man who learns to stand alone is the man who will never be shaken, no matter what life brings. A man's worth is not defined by his relationship status, but by his purpose. This is a truth that the world often forgets. Society places so much emphasis on finding love, on being in a relationship, on having someone to call your own, that it begins to paint the picture that without a partner, a man is somehow lacking. But let me tell you, a man's worth is not tied to whether or not he has someone standing beside him. His value is not determined by whether he is in a relationship or whether he walks this journey alone. His worth is found in something far greater, his purpose. Purpose is what gives a man meaning, is what drives him forward. It is what makes him wake up each morning with determination in his heart. A man who has a purpose is never truly alone, because his mission in life fills his soul in ways that no human companionship ever could. When a man understands his purpose, he does not waste his time searching for validation from others. He does not measure his worth by who loves him or who chooses him. Instead, he stands firm in the knowledge that his life has meaning beyond relationships, beyond emotions, beyond fleeting moments of affection. At history, the greatest men who have ever walked this earth were not defined by whether or not they had a girlfriend, a wife, or a romantic partner. They were defined by what they accomplished, by what they stood for, by what they gave to the world. Impact was not measured by the relationships they had, but by the purpose that burned within them. They were driven by something greater than personal happiness. They were driven by a mission, a calling, a reason for existing that went beyond themselves. A man who knows his purpose does not crumble under the weight of loneliness. He does not feel incomplete simply because he is not in a relationship. Instead, he uses this time, this season of solitude, to build himself, to refine his skills, to grow stronger in his faith, in his knowledge, in his ability to contribute to the world. He does not waste his days longing for someone to complete him because he knows that he is already whole. He does not seek a relationship out of desperation, but out of abundance, knowing that when the time is right, love will not be something he needs, but something he can give. The world will try to tell him. It will tell him that a man without a woman is somehow broken, that he is missing out on life, that he is incomplete. But a man who understands his purpose does not listen to the noise of he listens to something deeper. He listens to the calling that was placed in his heart long before he ever thought about relationships. He knows that his value does not come from romance, but from what he was created to do. Purpose gives a man strength. It gives him direction. It gives him a reason to wake up every day and fight for something bigger than himself. A man without purpose will always feel lost, even if he is surrounded by love, but a man with purpose will never feel empty, even if he walks alone. That is the difference. That is what sets apart the men who make a difference from the men who simply exist. Think of the warrior who trains in. He does not train so that he can impress someone, does not fight so that he can gain approval. He fights because it is his calling, is his purpose, knows that the battle is coming and he prepares for it. Whether or not anyone sees him, his strength is not dependent on applause. His worth is not tied to who recognizes him. He is driven by something deeper, something unshakable. And so it is with a man who understands his purpose. Does not seek validation from he does not measure his worth by the number of people who love him. He knows that his life is meant for something greater. He knows that he was not placed on this earth simply to be shipped, but to fulfill a mission, to make an impact, to leave a legacy. A man who chases purpose over validation is a man who be broken. He does not crumble under loneliness because he knows he is never truly alone. He does not seek love out of desperation because he is already fulfilled. His worth is not determined by whether or not someone chooses him because he has already chosen himself. And when the world looks at him, when they wonder how he can walk with such confidence, how he can stand so strong even without a partner, will see the truth. They will see that his strength does not come from who is beside him, but from the fire that burns within him. They will see that his worth is not found in his relationship status, but in the purpose that drives him forward. A man who knows his purpose is a man who is truly unstoppable. He is a man who cannot be shaken, who cannot be swayed, who does not need to search for meaning in others because he has already found it within himself. And that, my friends, is a life worth living. Loneliness is not an absence. It's an opportunity to grow deeper in faith and self-awareness. Many people fear being alone, as if solitude is a void that must be filled, as if an empty house, an empty chair, an empty bed signifies an empty life. But what if loneliness was never meant to be a punishment? What if the moments of being alone were not signs of something missing, but invitations to something greater? When a man finds himself alone, he stands at a crossroads. He can either see his solitude as an unbearable burden, something to escape at any cost, or he can embrace it. A season of growth, a time of refinement, a sacred space, can discover the depths of his own soul. Those who run from loneliness often run from themselves. They distract themselves with people, with noise, with anything that will keep them from sitting in silence and facing the deeper questions of life. But those who are brave enough to embrace solitude, to lean into the silence, to listen to what their heart is truly saying, are the men who grow. These are the men who become strong, not just in body, but in mind, in spirit, in wisdom. Loneliness has a way of revealing who a man really is when no one else is around to affirm him, to validate him, to tell him what to do. He is left with nothing but himself, and in that space he must decide who he, without the influence of a relationship, without the expectations of others shaping his identity, he has the rare opportunity to strip away everything false and come face to face with his true self. This is where faith is tested. When a man is alone, he can no longer rely on the comfort of another person's presence to keep him stable. He must turn to something deeper, something eternal. He must find his grounding in faith, in a belief that he is not truly alone, that there is a greater purpose behind his solitude. It is in these moments that he learns to trust, to listen, to seek something beyond the physical world. Some of the greatest men in history have walked through long seasons of solitude. They withdrew from the world not because they were weak, but because they understood the true strength is built in the quiet places. They knew that in order to lead, in order to make an impact, in order to become who they were meant to be, they had to first find themselves in the stillness. They did not fear being alone because they knew that solitude was a classroom where wisdom is taught. A man who embraces loneliness as an opportunity rather than a curse begins to see life differently. He no longer views himself as someone who is missing out, but as someone who is being prepared. He understands that this season of being alone is not about what he lacks, but about what he is gaining. He is gaining inner. He is gaining a deeper understanding of himself and of the world around him. It is in solitude that a man can refine his thoughts sharp and strengthen his character when there are no distractions. When there is no one else to impress, he has the freedom to be honest with himself. He can evaluate his values, his beliefs, his goals. He can ask himself the hard questions. What do I truly want? What do I truly? Who am I when no one else is watching? These are the questions that many people avoid their entire lives. They stay busy, jump from one relationship to the. They fill their days with constant activity so that they never have to stop and think. But a man who is willing to embrace solitude, to sit in the quiet and wrestle with these questions will come out stronger, wiser, and more at peace. Those who spend their lives running from loneliness. Faith is not something that grows in. It is not something that develops when everything is going well. When a man is surrounded by love and companionship, faith is built in the moments when he has nothing else to rely on, when he must stand alone and trust that there is something greater holding him up. Faith is what carries a man through the seasons of solitude, reminding him that he is never truly alone, that even in the silence he is being watched over. Guided self-awareness is another gift that comes with embracing loneliness. When a man has time to reflect, to truly understand himself, he becomes more secure in who he is. He no longer seeks approval from others because he has already approved of himself. He no longer fears rejection because he knows his worth does not depend on anyone else's opinion. This kind of self-awareness creates confidence. Not the shallow confidence that comes from external validation, but a deep, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing exactly who you are. A man who has spent time alone, who has faced himself, who has taken the opportunity to grow in faith and self-awareness, is a man who is ready for anything. He is not desperate for a relationship because he has already built a full and meaningful life on his own. Is not afraid of being alone because he has learned to enjoy his own company. He does not feel the need to prove anything to anyone because he has already proven to himself that he is strong, capable, and whole. The world often views loneliness as a problem that needs to be solved. The truth is, loneliness isn't. It is an opportunity to step into something greater, up a deeper relationship with oneself and with God, to refine one's purpose and prepare for the future. It is not an absence, but a gift, a space in which a man can grow in ways that he never could if he was constantly surrounded by people. So when a man finds himself alone, he should not see it as a punishment. He should not rush to fill the space with meaningless. Instead, he should embrace it, use it, cherish it, because in that solitude, he will find something far greater than he ever imagined. He will find himself. Love should never be a search for completion, but an extension of wholeness. Too many people walk through life believing that they are incomplete, that they are missing a piece of themselves, that they need someone else to make them. They search for love like a missing puzzle piece, hoping that when they find the right person, everything will finally make sense, that all the emptiness they feel inside will be filled. But this is one of the greatest illusions the world has ever sold. Love was never meant to be a remedy for loneliness, was never designed to complete a person. Love is not about finding someone to fix. It is about being whole on your own and then sharing that wholeness with another. When a man understands this, he stops searching for love. Out of desperation, he stops looking for someone to fill his emotional gaps, to heal his wounds, to give him a sense of identity. Instead, he focuses on becoming the best version of himself. He works on his purpose, on his character, on his faith, on his mind. He does not rush into relationships just to escape loneliness, because he understands that loneliness is not something another person can. And cure it is something that must be faced and conquered within. A man who knows that love is an extension of wholeness is not afraid to be alone. He does not view solitude as a punishment, but as a time of preparation. He uses this time to build himself, to discover his values, to deepen his understanding of what love truly is. He does not settle for just anyone because he is not looking for someone to fix him. He is looking for someone who matches the strength he has already developed within himself. The problem with searching for completion in another person is that it places an unrealistic burden on them. No one else can carry the weight of your happiness. No relationship can permanently heal wounds that were meant to be dealt with individually. When two broken people come together expecting the other to fix them, the relationship becomes a cycle of neediness, dependency, and eventual disappointment. But when two whole people come together, when two individuals who have already built fulfilling lives on their own decide to share their journeys, love becomes something powerful. It is no longer about filling. It is about overflowing with something so strong that it naturally pours into another. A man who walks in wholeness does not seek validation from a relationship. He does not feel the need to prove his worth through romantic success. He knows that his value is already established, that his life already has meaning, that his purpose does not begin when he meets someone, but that it existed long before. His identity is not wrapped up in being someone's boyfriend or husband. It is wrapped up in something far deeper. Understanding changes. It shifts the way a man approaches relationships. He does not enter love with a sense of desperation, but with a sense of clarity. He is not looking for someone to complete him, but for someone who is already complete within themselves. He does not fall into relationships carelessly because he knows that love is not about fixing loneliness. It is about sharing purpose. Too often people settle for relationships that drain them because they have bought into the lie that they cannot be whole on their own. They stay in situations that make them unhappy because they believe that being alone would be worse. But a man who understands his own completeness refuses to settle. He knows that being alone with purpose is far better than being with someone just to escape loneliness. He is not afraid of waiting because he knows that real love is not about rushing. It is about alignment. Think of a strong tree standing alone in the middle of a vast field. It does not need another tree beside it to survive. Its roots are deep, its branches stretch toward the sky. It is not lacking simply because it stands alone. But when another strong tree grows beside it, they do not compete for survival. They do not drain each other. They stand tall together, rooted in their own strength, yet complementing one another in beauty and purpose. This is how love should be. Not two people trying to hold each other up because they cannot stand on their own, but two individuals who are already whole, already strong, already full of life, choosing to grow side by side. A man who understands this does not chase love out of fear. He does not settle for relationships that distract him from his purpose. He does not lower his standards just to avoid being alone. Instead, he spends his time building himself, working on his dreams, developing his character. He waits not because he is afraid of love, but because he values it too much to enter it carelessly. And when the right person comes along, he does not love them because he needs them, loves them because he chooses them. He does not cling to them out of fear of being alone. He walks beside them in strength, knowing that their love is not a crutch, but a shared journey. A man who knows he is whole is not threatened by solitude. He does not see singleness as a failure. He does not measure his worth by whether or not he has a romantic partner. He understands that love is not something to desperately seek, but something that flows naturally when the time is right. This kind of man is rare. He does not jump from one relationship to the next, looking for someone to fill a void. He does not fear being single because he knows that his value does not decrease just because he is walking this path alone. He moves through life with confidence, knowing that if love comes, it will be in addition to his already full life, not the foundation of it. When they wonder why he is not desperate for a relationship, when they ask why he is content even in solitude, they will see the truth. They will see that he is not waiting for someone to complete him, is already whole, already strong, already living a life of purpose. And if love comes, it will not be because he needed it to. It will be because he was already thriving and he found someone who was doing the same love for him. Will not be a desperate search for completion, but a powerful extension of the wholeness he has already built within himself. A man's peace should never be dependent on another person. In a world that constantly pushes the idea that happiness comes from being with someone, that a relationship is the key to fulfillment, it takes true strength to stand alone and say, my peace does not depend on anyone but me. Many people place the weight of their inner peace on the shoulders of another person, expecting someone else to bring them happiness, to fix their emotional struggles, to calm their storms. But a man who understands his own worth, who has built his life on a foundation stronger than fleeting emotions, knows that his peace is something internal, something that no one else can give or take away, is not found in another person. It is found within. A man who relies on others for his emotional stability will always be at the mercy of their actions. If they love him, he is happy. If they leave him, he is broken. If they approve of him, he feels valuable. If they reject him, he feels worthless. Is not peace. This is dependency. And a man who lives in dependency can never truly be free. Peace is unshakable. It is not built on relationships, emotions, or circumstances. It is built on a foundation that remains steady even when everything around it changes. A man who has found true peace within himself is not shaken by loneliness. He does not rush into relationships just to avoid being alone. He does not seek validation from others because he has already validated himself. Does not need to be in a relationship to feel secure, because his security comes from something much deeper. Connection. This kind of peace is rare, but it is powerful. It allows a man to walk through life with confidence, knowing that no matter what happens, he will remain standing. This is not to say that love and companionship are not beautiful things. They are. But they should never be the foundation of a man's peace. A relationship should add to his life, not be the thing that holds it together. Too often, people enter relationships expecting them to bring stability, only to find that when the relationship struggles, their entire life falls apart. A man who has built his peace from within does not experience this. He enjoys love when it comes, but he does not depend on it for survival. If a relationship ends, he does not crumble because his foundation was never built on another person. It was built on something much stronger. When a man finds peace within himself, he no longer feels the need to prove anything to anyone. He does not chase approval, does not beg for attention, does not live in fear of being alone. He is content with his own company. He enjoys solitude not because he is antisocial, but because he understands the value of being at peace with himself. He does not need constant validation to feel worthy because he has already determined his worth. The world does not understand this kind of man. It looks at him and wonders why he is not desperate for love. He is not constantly searching for someone to complete him. It does not understand how a man can be happy, confident, and fulfilled without a romantic relationship. But the truth is, this kind of man has discovered something that many never will. He has discovered that real peace is not found in another person, but in knowing who you are and being completely secure in that knowledge. This kind of peace makes a man powerful. It makes him unbreakable. It allows him to walk through life with his head high, not because he is arrogant, but because he knows that nothing outside of him can destroy what he has built. He does not live in fear of being abandoned because he has never abandoned himself. He does not fear rejection because he has already accepted himself. A man who has mastered his own peace is the kind of man who does not need to chase love because love will find him. There is something deeply attractive about a man who is secure, who does not need a relationship to feel valuable, who carries himself with confidence. When love does come, it comes as a choice, not as a need. He does not enter relationships out of fear of being alone, but out of a genuine desire to share his life with someone. Too many people spend their lives running from themselves. They fill their days with distractions, with relationships, with anything that will keep them from sitting alone with their own thoughts. But a man who has found peace within does not run. He stands still. He faces himself. He learns to love his own company. He understands that his worth is not determined by whether or not someone loves him, but by the character he has built, the values he holds, and the way he carries himself through the world. This does not mean that life will always be easy. Even the strongest man faces challenges, struggles, moments of doubt. But a man who has built his peace internally knows how to withstand the storm. He does not allow circumstances to dictate his happiness, does not allow heartbreak to destroy him. He does not allow loneliness to define him, knows that no matter what, he will be okay because his peace is not something that can be taken away. It is something that lives within him. A man who has found his own peace is not bitter. He does not walk through life with resentment, blaming others for his struggles, holding grudges against those who have hurt. He understands that peace is not just about being alone. It is about letting go of anger, of pain, of anything that threatens to steal his joy. He forgives not because others deserve it, but because he refuses to allow negativity to take root in his heart. He moves forward not because he is unaffected by life's difficulties, but because he has learned how to carry them without letting them weigh him down. This kind of man is rare in a world that is constantly telling people they need someone else to be happy. Stands. He proves that wholeness is not found in another person, but in a deep understanding of oneself. And because of this, he is not shaken. He does not waver in the He does not waver in the face of love. He knows that his life has meaning, whether or not someone else is standing beside him. So he walks with peace. He does not panic. He does not let the opinions of others dictate his worth. He understands that real happiness does not come from being with someone. It comes from being at peace with yourself. And once a man has found this peace, nothing in the world can take it from him. A man who walks his path alone is not. He is strong beyond measure in a world that constantly glorifies companionship, relationships, and social validation. It takes a rare kind of strength for a man to walk alone, to build himself, without leaning on another to carve his own path, without waiting for someone to walk beside him. This is not the walk of a man who has failed to find love, but the walk of a man who refuses to settle for anything less than his purpose. There is a misconception in society that being alone is a sign of failure, that a man without a partner is somehow incomplete. That solitude is a punishment rather than a privilege. But a man who understands his worth knows that solitude is not a curse. It is a gift. It is a space where he can grow without distraction, where he can sharpen his mind, where he can become exactly who he was meant to be. A man who chooses to walk alone is not doing so because he has no other choice, but because he values the journey, to walk with intent. This kind of man is not afraid of silence. He does not fear the empty spaces where others rush to fill the void with temporary distractions. He embraces these moments, knowing that in the quiet he hears himself the loudest. He does not need the noise of the world to define him. Because he has already defined himself, he does not require constant validation because he has already determined his own worth. A man who walks alone is not distracted by the expectations of others. He does not chase love out of desperation, does not measure his success by whether or not he has someone by his side. Instead, he measures his success by the depth of his character, by the impact of his work, by the strength of his convictions. He knows that a man's worth is not determined by his relationship status, but by the integrity of his soul. When a man walks alone, he is forced to rely on his own strength. There is no one else to pick him up when he falls, one else to reassure him when he doubts himself, no one else to push him forward when the road becomes difficult. And yet he keeps going. He learns to pick himself up, to encourage himself, to trust himself. He discovers a resilience that many never find because they have never had to on their own. This is the kind of strength that makes a man unstoppable when he faces challenges. He does not break. He adapts when he encounters setbacks. He does not quit. He learns when life knocks him down, does not stay there. He rises stronger than before. Because he has walked alone, he has learned how to survive, how to endure, how to thrive. Regardless of circumstances, many men fear solitude because they have never learned how to be alone without feeling lonely. They associate being single with being undesirable, as if their worth is dependent on someone choosing them. But a man who has embraced his own journey knows that his value is not tied to another person's presence. He is not single because he lacks something, is single. He is focused because he is waiting for something real, because he refuses to compromise his vision for temporary companionship. The man who walks alone is often misunderstood. People question his choices, wonder why he is not desperate for love, assume that he must be unhappy. But what they fail to see is that he is not walking in sadness, he is walking in purpose, is not alone because he is alone because he values his own company enough to wait. What aligns with him? He understands that settling for the wrong person is far worse than standing alone. This kind of man does not need to prove himself. He does not chase relationships just to fit in, does not bend his standards just to avoid loneliness. He stands firm in who he is, knowing that when the time is right, the right person will walk beside him, not out of necessity, but out of choice. Walking alone does not mean a man is disconnected. It does not. He does not experience love, friendship, or deep connection with others. It simply means that he is not defined by these things. He loves freely, but not out of fear. He connects deeply, but not out of. He chooses relationships that add to his life rather than ones that define it. And when the world sees him, they may not understand his journey. They may not comprehend how a man can be at peace without a relationship, how he can walk with confidence without a partner, how he can thrive in a world that constantly tells him he needs someone else to be whole. But he does not need the world's understanding. He only needs his own, because he knows that the strongest men in history, the ones who changed the world, the ones who left legacies that lasted long after they were gone, were men who were not afraid to walk alone. They were men who did not let society dictate their path, who did not let loneliness drive their decisions, who did not let the absence of a partner make them doubt their worth. They were men who knew that solitude is not emptiness, but power. That walking alone is not a sign of weakness, but a strength. That a man who can stand on his own is a man who can stand against. And so he walks, not with loneliness, but with purpose, not with desperation, but with confidence, not with emptiness, but with the fullness of knowing exactly who he is. And that in itself is more powerful than anything else the world can offer. A man who walks alone is not lost. He is focused. His strength is not in needing someone to complete him, but in knowing he is already whole. He does not chase love out of fear, but waits for what aligns with his purpose. His peace is internal, his confidence unshakable, and his path is defined by purpose, not pressure. The world may not understand him, but he does not seek its approval. He knows that true strength is not in avoiding solitude, but in embracing it, growing through, walking forward with unwavering resolve. Before the world awakens and the first light kisses the earth, let your heart be lifted in gratitude. The moment you open your eyes, you have been given another day, another opportunity, another canvas upon which to paint the masterpiece of your life. And so, before you step into the world, step into awareness. Recognize the infinite presence that breathes life into you. Know that you are not alone, for the divine mind moves through you as you shaping every moment of your existence. Gratitude is not merely words spoken in passing. It is the key that unlocks the abundance of heaven itself. What you appreciate appreciates. What you give thanks for expands. Every blessing you acknowledge multiplies. This is the sacred law, written not in books, but upon the heart of creation itself. You are not waiting to be blessed. You are already blessed. You are not waiting to receive. You are already receiving. The great secret of life is to recognize this truth and to give thanks before the evidence appears. In the stillness of the morning, close your eyes and feel the presence of the divine surrounding you. Speak with certainty. I am grateful for this day. I am grateful for the love that flows through me. I am grateful for the unseen doors that are opening, for the miracles that are already set in motion, even before my feet touch the ground. I know that everything I need is already provided. Let this be the rhythm of your heart, a song of gratitude that moves with you throughout the day. When you give thanks, you align yourself with the highest vibration of the universe. You are no longer pleading, you are proclaiming. You are not asking in doubt, you are affirming in faith. To give thanks is to step into the reality of your answered prayer, to claim the fullness of what has already been given. It is a shift in consciousness, a transformation of the mind. And as you walk in gratitude, the world must reflect that which you carry within. Every challenge is a hidden gift. Every obstacle is a disguised blessing. Give thanks not only for what is easy, but for what stretches you, for the trials that refine you, for the lessons that shape you into the highest expression of yourself. Nothing is against you. Everything is working for your good. So instead of fear, choose gratitude. Instead of worry, choose faith. Let every breath be a silent prayer of thanksgiving. The world may say, I will give thanks when I see the blessing, but the awakened soul knows I will give thanks now, and the blessing will appear. This is the mystery of creation, the secret of manifestation. Whatever you desire, bless it. Whatever you seek, give thanks that it is already yours. When you walk in the awareness that you are divinely guided, provided for, and loved beyond measure, you will see the evidence unfold before your eyes. Rise each morning with a heart full of gratitude. Let the first words upon your lips be words of thanksgiving. The day ahead is already blessed. The path before you is already clear. Walk in faith, speak with certainty, and give thanks in all things. What you sow in gratitude, you shall reap in abundance. Each morning, as you awaken from the depths of sleep, you stand at the threshold of infinite possibilities. In that sacred moment between sleep and wakefulness, the world has not yet claimed you, and your mind is most receptive to divine impressions. This is the time to plant the seeds of gratitude, for what you acknowledge now will shape the day before you. Give thanks, not merely in words, but with the full power of your feeling. Let gratitude rise from the depths of your being and flood every corner of your soul. Let it become the atmosphere in which you move, the very breath that sustains you. Nothing in your life is by accident. Every event, every encounter, every experience has been orchestrated by the unseen hand of divine intelligence. The challenges, the joys, the delays, and the breakthroughs, all of it is serving a greater purpose. When you choose to see through the eyes of faith, you understand that nothing is missing. Everything you need is already present, waiting for you to recognize it. And so, with this knowing, you give thanks in advance. You speak as if the blessing has already arrived. You walk as if the doors have already opened. You carry yourself with the confidence of one who knows that all things are working together for good. There are those who spend their days longing for what they do not have, believing that happiness will arrive with the next achievement, the next possession, the next moment. But the wise understand that joy is not found in the pursuit of more. It is found in the recognition of what already is. Look around you. Breathe deeply. Feel the warmth of life moving through your body. This moment is a gift, And the more you acknowledge it, the more blessings will reveal themselves to you. The abundance you seek is not something outside of you. It is within you, waiting to be recognized. What you focus on expands. If you wake up and dwell on what is missing, you will experience lack. If you dwell on what is wrong, you will encounter more obstacles. But if you wake up and give thanks for even the smallest blessings, you will find that those blessings multiply. Give thanks for the roof over your head, for the breath in your lungs, for the unseen forces guiding your every step. Give thanks for the strength within you, for the lessons that have shaped you, for the unseen hands that have carried you through the storms of life. Nothing is too small to be acknowledged. Nothing is too insignificant to be celebrated. Every morning as you rise, remind yourself that you are walking in divine favor. The universe is conspiring for your highest good. Even when you do not see the way is being made. Even when you feel lost, you are being led. Even when you cannot understand the purpose of a challenge, trust that it is refining you, shaping you, preparing you for something greater. There is nothing in your life that is wasted. Every experience is a stepping stone. Every delay is divine redirection. Every disappointment is an invitation to trust deeper. And so, instead of questioning, you give thanks. Instead of doubting, you surrender. Instead of resisting, you allow. The secret to an abundant life is not in striving, but in receiving. The moment you give thanks, you align yourself with the flow of divine abundance. You cease struggling, you cease searching, you step into a state of knowing. And in this state, blessings find you effortlessly. Miracles unfold before your eyes. Solutions appear where there once were none. Doors swing open that you never even knocked on. This is the power of gratitude. It transforms your world from the inside out. What if, for just one day, you decided to give thanks for everything? Not just for what is pleasant, but for everything. What if you thanked the people who challenged you, for they're your greatest teachers? What if you thanked the closed doors, for they redirected you to something better? What if you thanked the delays, for they protected you from unseen harm? What if you thanked even the pain, for it revealed to you your strength? If you could do this, you would discover a secret hidden from many, that nothing in your life is against you. Everything is for you. Begin each day with this understanding, and you will find that the world mirrors it back to you. What you expect, you will experience. If you wake up anticipating goodness, goodness will meet you at every turn. If you wake up expecting favor, favor will follow you wherever you go. If you wake up declaring that today is blessed, watch as blessings unfold in ways you never imagined. Your thoughts are powerful. Your words are creative. Your gratitude is magnetic. There is a great mystery at work in this universe, one that many fail to see because they are too distracted by appearances, but you are not among them. You have awakened to the truth that what you feel within will be reflected without. The world does not determine your experience. Your inner state does. If you walk in gratitude, you will walk in abundance. If you walk in appreciation, you will walk in joy. If you give thanks for what is, you will open the floodgates for more to come. As you move through your day, keep this awareness with you. Let every step be a prayer of thanksgiving. Let every interaction be infused with appreciation. Let every moment be a reminder that you are divinely guided, infinitely loved, and endlessly blessed. Do not wait for something to change before you give thanks. Give thanks now, and watch as everything begins to shift. It is not a practice. It is a way of being. It is not something you do. It is something you embody. When gratitude becomes your natural state, lack disappears. Fear dissolves. Doubt vanishes. You are standing in the midst of a divine orchestration, a grand design beyond what your eyes can see. Every detail of your life is held in perfect order. You are never forgotten. You are never forsaken. You are never without help. The infinite presence that formed the stars, that set the sun in motion, that breathed life into all creation, is the same presence that moves through you. And if that presence is for you, what could ever be against you? The greatest secret is not in getting more, but in recognizing what you already have. When you understand this, your life will be forever changed. You will cease striving. You will cease worrying. You will rest in the knowing that you are already provided for, already taken care of, already complete. And in this knowing, you will find peace. In this knowing, you will find joy. In this knowing, you will find that there is nothing left to do but give thanks. So let this be your morning prayer. Let this be the song of your heart. Let this be the vibration you carry into the world, not as a fleeting moment, but as a way of living, not as something you remember, but as something you become. Give thanks not just with words, but with your entire being. Give thanks not just when it is easy, but especially when it is difficult. Give thanks not just for what you see, but for what is yet to come. And as you do, watch as the universe moves, as doors open, as blessings unfold, as miracles abound. Watch as life itself rises to meet you, reflecting back the gratitude that you have so freely given. Every breath you take is a divine gift, a sacred reminder that life flows through you effortlessly. You do not command the sun to rise, nor do you instruct the earth to turn. Yet these things happen in perfect harmony, just as your life is unfolding in divine order. When you recognize this, when you truly see the infinite intelligence that sustains all things, you cannot help but give thanks. Gratitude becomes the natural language of your soul. It is not something you practice, it is something you embody, something that overflows from the depths of your being. You are never lacking. The illusion of lack comes from failing to see the fullness of what already exists. But when your eyes are open, when your heart is receptive, you see that you have always been provided for. Every need has been met, even before you became aware of it. The breath in your lungs, the beat of your heart, the very energy that moves through your body, these are all signs of the divine presence working in you. The moment you acknowledge this, you shift into a new reality, one where struggle ceases and blessings flow freely. There is no need to beg for what has already been given. You do not plead for the sun to shine or the rivers to flow, for you know they are constant. Likewise, you need not plead for abundance, for it is already yours. Your only task is to recognize it, and you recognize it through gratitude. Each time you give thanks, you align yourself with the divine current of life. Each time you acknowledge the goodness that surrounds you, you open yourself to receive more. Gratitude is the key that unlocks the storehouse of blessings that have always been available to you. Do not let the distractions of the world blind you to the miracles unfolding in every moment. Many live in a constant state of wanting, always reaching for something just beyond their grasp. But wanting only creates more wanting. The secret is not in desiring more, but in recognizing that you already have enough. And as you give thanks for what is, you create space for what is to expand. This is the great paradox. When you are grateful, you receive more to be grateful for. The world will try to convince you that you are incomplete, that you must strive, that you must prove yourself. But the truth is you are already whole. Nothing outside of you can add to or take away from the essence of who you are. The love that created you is the same love that sustains you. And in that love, there is no lack. When you give thanks, you are affirming this truth. You are declaring to the universe that you recognize your completeness. And in doing so, you magnetize all that is in harmony with your highest good. Each morning is a new beginning, a fresh opportunity to step into the fullness of life. What you set in motion at the start of your day will ripple throughout every moment that follows. If you begin with worry, worry will color your experiences. If you begin with gratitude, gratitude will shape your reality. It is not the circumstances that determine your day, but the state of your heart. And the heart that is filled with thanksgiving walks in peace. Enjoy. In divine favor, you are never alone. The same presence that moves the tides and calls forth the stars is the presence that moves within you. When you trust this, when you know it deep within your soul, there is no room for fear. Fear cannot exist in the presence of gratitude. Doubt cannot survive in the heart that knows it is cared for. When you truly give thanks, you dissolve every worry, every limitation, every false belief that has ever held you back. You step into a state of allowing where all that is meant for you flows effortlessly into your life. Give thanks for the things you cannot yet see, for in the unseen realm, they are already forming. Just as a seed takes root in the darkness before it breaks through the soil, so too are your blessings unfolding, even when you do not yet perceive them. The moment you express gratitude for what is coming, you accelerate its manifestation. You align yourself with the reality where it already exists. You step into the awareness that what you seek is not in the future. It is here now, waiting for you to claim it. Gratitude is not just a feeling, it is a vibration, a frequency that resonates with the very fabric of creation. When you give thanks, you send out a signal that attracts more of what you are grateful for. You shift your consciousness from lack to abundance, from separation to unity, from fear to love. And in this state, miracles become the norm, not the exception. You are no longer a passive observer of life. You become a conscious creator, shaping your reality with the power of your thoughts and feelings. Look at your life through the lens of gratitude, and you will see that nothing is being wasted. Even the moments that seem difficult, even the seasons of waiting, even the times when you felt lost, all of it was guiding you, teaching you, preparing you. When you give thanks for these moments, you transform them. What once felt like obstacles now become stepping stones. What once seemed like loss now reveals itself as redirect. Gratitude allows you to see the hand of the divine in all things. You are already blessed beyond measure. You do not need to chase blessings. You only need to recognize them. And as you recognize them, they multiply. The more you acknowledge the goodness in your life, the more goodness you will experience. This is not a theory, it is a law, as certain as gravity, as sure as the rising sun. You have seen it in your own life. When you focus on lack, lack increases. When you focus on abundance, abundance grows. You hold the key you always have. Let this moment be one of deep, heartfelt gratitude. Feel the warmth of divine love surrounding you. Feel the certainty that all is well. Feel the peace that comes from knowing you are exactly where you are meant to be. Give thanks for who you are, for where you are, for all that is unfolding. Let gratitude be your prayer, your affirmation, your way of being. And as you do, watch as the world mirrors back to you the beauty, the abundance, the limitless blessings that have been yours all along. Giving thanks to God is one of the most powerful and transformative practices we can engage in each day. It sets the tone for the day, aligning us with gratitude and positivity, and helps us recognize the many blessings in our lives. When we wake up in the morning, we are gifted with a new day full of endless possibilities, and our first act should be one of deep appreciation to God for this opportunity. It is in the simple yet profound act of giving thanks that we open ourselves to experience peace, joy, and abundance. As we begin our day, let us pause for a moment to reflect on the goodness of God. He has provided us with everything we need, our health, our families, our homes, and the breath of life. Each of these blessings is a manifestation of His love and care for us. In the midst of our busy lives, it's easy to overlook these gifts. But when we intentionally pause to give thanks, we shift our focus from what we lack to what we have. This shift in perspective brings forth an energy of gratitude that can impact every aspect of our day. The act of thanking God is not only about recognizing the big blessings, but also the small ones, the little things we often take for granted. We might wake up in a comfortable bed, have food to eat, or be surrounded by loved ones. These everyday gifts are divine expressions of God's provision, and when we take time to thank Him for them, we begin to see the abundance in our lives. It's the small moments, like the warmth of the sun, the sound of birds chirping, or the feeling of a gentle breeze, that remind us of God's constant presence and care. In this moment of gratitude, we also acknowledge the challenges we may face. Even in difficult times, we are called to give thanks, for God does not leave us in our struggles. He's with us through every hardship, guiding us and providing us with the strength to endure. There is always a lesson in the trials we face, and when we trust in God's wisdom, we can find peace, a knowing that He is working everything together for our good. The practice of giving thanks in the face of adversity deepens our faith and helps us remain hopeful, knowing that our circumstances are temporary and God's promises are eternal. When we thank God each morning, we also open ourselves to receive the gifts He has in store for us throughout the day. Gratitude is a magnet for blessings. The more we give thanks, the more we attract things to be thankful for. This divine exchange is a beautiful flow of energy that connects us with God and the abundant universe He has created. It is through gratitude that we acknowledge His presence in every moment and remain open to the flow of His love and blessing. As we start our day with gratitude, we align ourselves with God's will. Thanking Him first thing in the morning centers us, bringing us back to a place of spiritual balance and peace. We are reminded that He is the source of all our blessings, and it is only through Him that we are able to experience life in its fullest form. Each breath we take is a gift from God, and every step we take is guided by His hand. Acknowledging His presence and thanking Him for it grounds us in the truth that we are never alone. He is with us, guiding us every step of the way. In this sacred moment of prayer, we reflect on the countless ways God has worked in our lives. We remember the times when He has provided for us, healed us, and guided us through difficult moments. Each answered prayer is a testament to His faithfulness, and each blessing is a reminder of His love. As we reflect on these moments, we are filled with a deep sense of gratitude and awe for the ways God works in our lives. We remember that we are not the sum of our achievements, but rather the recipients of His grace, and for that we give thanks. When we focus on God's blessings, we cultivate an attitude of abundance. It's easy to fall into the trap of comparison and desire for more, but when we thank God for what we have, we shift our mindset from lack to abundance. We realize that we already have everything we need, and that is more than enough. God's blessings are not limited by our circumstances, but rather by our ability to recognize and appreciate them. The more we acknowledge His goodness, the more we see it everywhere we look. In the quiet moments of morning prayer, we also invite God to lead us through the day ahead. We trust that He will guide our steps, give us wisdom, and help us navigate the challenges that may arise. With God's guidance, we can face any situation with confidence, knowing that He is in control. We can walk through our day with a sense of peace, knowing that no matter what comes our way, God is already ahead of us. Preparing the path, thanking God each morning also allows us to release any burdens or worries we may carry. In His presence, we find rest for our souls. When we trust in God, we can surrender our anxieties and fears, knowing that He is bigger than any problem we may face. This morning prayer is not just a time to express gratitude, but also a time to release and let go of anything that may be weighing us down. We lay our burdens at His feet, trusting that He will take care of them in His perfect timing. As we offer our morning prayers of thanks, we are reminded of the power of words. Our words have the ability to shape our reality, and when we speak words of gratitude, we are creating an atmosphere of positivity and abundance. Words of thanksgiving invite God's presence into our lives and into our day. They help us focus on the good and magnify His blessings. By speaking these words of gratitude, we are declaring our faith in God's goodness and acknowledging His power in our lives. Throughout the day, we can carry this spirit of gratitude with us. As we go about our tasks, we can continue to thank God for His provision, His wisdom, and His presence. Gratitude is not just a one-time act, but a continuous attitude that transforms our hearts and minds. When we choose to live in gratitude, we begin to see the world through a lens of positivity and possibility. We become more aware of the blessings around us, and we begin to attract more things to be thankful for. Let us take a moment to thank God for the gift of this day. We thank Him for the breath in our lungs, the strength in our bodies, and the love in our hearts. We thank Him for the opportunities that await us, for the people we will meet, and for the lessons we will learn. We thank Him for the peace that surpasses understanding and the joy that fills our hearts. We thank Him for the simple pleasures and the grand blessings. We thank Him for His grace, His mercy, and His unfailing love. As we move forward into the day, let us carry this spirit of thanksgiving with us. Let our words and actions be a reflection of our gratitude to God. Let us be mindful of the blessings we have, and let us give thanks for them each and every day. May our hearts be full of gratitude, and may our lives be a testament to God's goodness and faithfulness. And as we go about our day, may we continue to count our blessings, for in doing so, we open ourselves to receive even more of the goodness that God has in store for us. As we continue on this journey of gratitude, let us reflect on how deeply our hearts are connected to God's love and provision. Every moment of our existence is an opportunity to acknowledge Him, to thank Him, and to allow His divine presence to fill every part of our lives. There is something profoundly transformative about starting each day with a heart full of thanksgiving. It shapes our attitudes, our decisions, and our responses to the world around us. When we begin our day in this way, we invite God's peace into our hearts, creating an environment of harmony and spiritual alignment. In the stillness of the morning before the world awakens, we have a precious opportunity to commune with God. This quiet time is a sacred moment to remember that He is the creator of all things, and in Him all things hold together. We are reminded that He is the source of every good gift, and every blessing in our lives flows from His loving hand. Each day is a new gift, and it is up to us to recognize the beauty and the potential that it holds. When we wake up and say thank you to God, we acknowledge that He has given us yet another chance to live, to love, and to serve. Giving thanks in the morning is also a reminder of the many blessings that we may sometimes take for granted. We often become so focused on the things we want or feel we lack that we overlook the abundance we already have. But the truth is that we are rich in blessings. Even in moments of struggle, God is present, and there are countless things we can give thanks for. Our health, no matter how fragile, is a gift. The people we love and who love us in return are gifts. The breaths we take, the thoughts we think, and the experiences we have are all gifts. The more we open our eyes to these blessings, the more we begin to see the endless ways that God is at work in our lives. Let us not forget the profound impact that a grateful heart can have on our mental and emotional well-being. Scientific studies have shown that gratitude has a direct effect on our happiness. When we express thanks, we release feelings of negativity and stress, replacing them with positive emotions and peace. This is not only a mental shift, but it is a spiritual one as well. God has created us to live in a state of joy and contentment, and gratitude aligns us with that divine design. It opens us up to receiving more of His goodness and allows His joy to flood our hearts. In the morning, when we take the time to thank God, we are also setting the tone for the day ahead. We are declaring that no matter what comes our way, we will choose to see the good. We may face challenges, but we know that God is with us, and that is reason enough to be thankful. We are acknowledging that even in the midst of difficulty, He is faithful and His love never fails. When we express gratitude, we activate our faith, trusting that God will lead us through the day with wisdom and strength. With every challenge, He provides us with the tools and grace we need to overcome. The power of thanksgiving extends beyond our own lives and into the lives of those around us. As we give thanks, we become a light to others. Our gratitude is contagious, and it invites those we encounter to recognize the blessings in their own lives. We become carriers of God's love and peace, radiating His goodness to everyone we meet. Our attitude of thankfulness can be a source of encouragement to those who may be struggling or feeling discouraged. When others see our joy and peace, they are drawn to the same source of blessing, God Himself. Thanking God each morning also serves as a reminder of the promises He has made to us. The Bible is full of promises that remind us that God is always with us, that He will never leave us or forsake us, and that He will provide for all our needs. When we give thanks, we are not only acknowledging the blessings we have, but we are also declaring our faith in God's promises. We trust that He will continue to provide, guide, and protect us. Our gratitude becomes a testimony of our trust in His faithfulness. It strengthens our confidence that He is working everything together for our good, even when we don't fully understand the circumstances. In our times of prayer, as we thank God for the blessings we've received, we also become more aware of our role in His divine plan. We are reminded that we are not here by accident, but that God has a purpose for each of us. Every blessing is an opportunity to serve, to give, and to be a blessing to others. When we are grateful for what we have, we are more likely to share it with those around us. Our blessings are meant to flow through us. And when we thank God, we open our hearts to be vessels of His love and goodness to others. Each moment we spend in gratitude strengthens our connection to God. It deepens our relationship with Him and allows us to experience His love in a more intimate way. When we take the time to give thanks, we invite God into every part of our lives. We surrender our plans and our desires to Him, trusting that His will for us is good. We trust that He knows what is best for us and that He will guide us toward the fulfillment of His purpose. Gratitude becomes the bridge that connects us to His divine wisdom and direction. As we move through the day, let us remain mindful of the blessings we've received. It is easy to get caught up in the business of life, but when we practice gratitude, we train ourselves to notice the goodness of God in every moment. We begin to see that He is at work in even the smallest details of our lives. A kind word from a stranger, the beauty of nature, or the laughter of a child. All of these are gifts from God, and we can be thankful for them. In our moments of gratitude, we acknowledge that God is present with us in every aspect of our lives. Let us also remember that Thanksgiving is not just for the good times, but for the difficult moments as well. It is in those times that our faith is tested and our trust in God is refined. When we face challenges, it is easy to feel overwhelmed or discouraged. But when we choose to give thanks, even in those moments, we shift our focus from the problem to the solution. We remember that God is bigger than any problem, and that His power is greater than any challenge. In the midst of hardship, thanksgiving becomes an act of surrender and trust in God's ability to turn every situation around for our good. Thanking God each morning is a powerful way to start the day with intention and purpose. It helps us cultivate a heart of gratitude that stays with us throughout the day. When we express thanks, we acknowledge that we are not in control, but that God is. We trust that He will guide our steps, provide for our needs, and protect us from harm. We can face the day with confidence, knowing that His presence goes before us. Gratitude is a gift that keeps on giving. The more we give thanks, the more we realize how much we have to be thankful for. It becomes a cycle of blessing that continues to grow. The more we recognize and appreciate the good in our lives, the more good we attract. God's blessings are endless, And when we live with a heart of gratitude, we open ourselves up to receive even more of His love and provision. Gratitude transforms our hearts, our minds, and our lives, bringing us closer to God and His divine purpose for us. As we continue to give thanks each morning, we must remember that this practice is not merely a routine, but a profound act of faith. Every time we express gratitude, we acknowledge the countless ways in which God has been faithful to us. It's easy to overlook the ordinary blessings, waking up with breath in our lungs, having a roof over our heads, the people who care about us. All of these are gifts, and acknowledging them helps us align ourselves with God's will. Through this simple act, we experience a deeper connection with His love and provision, and we begin to see that every day is a divine opportunity. There is power in gratitude, particularly when we start our days with it. It is not only an expression of thanksgiving, but also a declaration of trust. Each time we thank God for the blessings we have, we express our faith in His goodness and His ability to provide. This act shapes our hearts to be more receptive to His blessings, and it opens the door for more miracles to manifest in our lives. When we start the day by acknowledging God's presence, we invite Him to lead us through the day. We are not just thanking Him for what has been, but also for what is yet to come. We are trusting that He is in control, that He is the author of our stories, and that He will equip us with everything we need. A morning filled with gratitude doesn't just affect our spiritual lives. It changes our perspective on everything. It brings a sense of peace and clarity to our minds, preparing us for the day ahead. When we remember to give thanks, we step out of bed with an attitude of possibility rather than a sense of dread or frustration. We stop focusing on what we don't have and begin to recognize the abundance that already exists. Gratitude shifts our energy from lack to abundance, from fear to faith, and from hopelessness to hope. It becomes a lens through which we see the world and everything in it. And with this perspective, our actions and responses to challenges are transformed. Gratitude also reminds us that God's presence is constant. It is not just in the good moments, but in the difficult ones as well. Each challenge we face is an opportunity for God to show us His power and faithfulness. When we thank God during times of trial, we acknowledge His sovereignty over all things. It is in these moments that we begin to understand that God is shaping us, growing us, and preparing us for something greater. Even when we cannot see the way forward, our gratitude becomes an anchor that keeps us grounded in His promises. God uses these times to teach us to lean on Him more fully, and He often reveals His love to us in deeper ways through our struggles. As we cultivate a heart of gratitude, we begin to experience a shift in our relationships with others. Gratitude not only draws us closer to God, but also opens our hearts to those around us. When we are thankful for the blessings we receive, we are more likely to share those blessings with others. Gratitude creates a ripple effect, one that spreads from our hearts to the hearts of those we encounter. When we approach others with a thankful attitude, we become a source of encouragement, light, and hope. Our gratitude reminds others that they too have much to be thankful for, and that God is present in their lives, even in the most challenging moments. Furthermore, gratitude deepens our connection to the community around us. It helps us see the divine in the people we interact with. Every person we meet is a unique reflection of God's image, and when we recognize this, we are more likely to express kindness, patience, and understanding. As we thank God for the people in our lives, we begin to view them through a lens of grace and compassion. Even when people disappoint or hurt us, gratitude helps us release judgment and extend forgiveness. It transforms our hearts into vessels of God's love, and in doing so, we become more aligned with His will for us. Another aspect of gratitude is its role in our mental health. A heart filled with thanks is a heart at peace. When we focus on what is good, lovely, and praiseworthy, Our minds are freed from negativity and worry. Thankfulness helps us to overcome anxiety and stress, reminding us that God is bigger than any obstacle we face. When we give thanks, we shift our focus from problems to solutions, from struggles to victories. It reminds us that God is always working in the background, orchestrating every detail of our lives for our good. This shift in perspective allows us to trust God more fully, knowing that we are never alone in our journey. Gratitude, when practiced consistently, leads to a life of joy. This joy is not dependent on circumstances, but is rooted in the steadfast love of God. It is a deep and abiding sense of contentment that comes from knowing that we are loved by the Creator of the universe, that He has a plan for our lives, and that He is with us every step of the way. When we start our mornings by counting our blessings, we cultivate an attitude of joy that lasts throughout the day. This joy is contagious, and it becomes a source of strength and encouragement for those around us. In addition to transforming our attitudes and relationships, gratitude empowers us to take action. When we are thankful for the resources and opportunities God has given us, we are more inclined to use them for His glory. Gratitude motivates us to serve others, to be faithful stewards of the talents and gifts God has entrusted to us. It calls us to live with purpose and intention, knowing that everything we have is a gift from God and should be used to bring Him honor. As we express our thanks, we are reminded that our lives are not our own, but are meant to be lived for His purposes. Gratitude encourages us to pursue our calling with passion and dedication, trusting that God will provide everything we need along the way. Through gratitude, we also open ourselves to receiving more from God. When we are thankful for what we have, we acknowledge that God is the source of every good thing, and we trust that He will continue to bless us abundantly. Our hearts become more receptive to His gifts, and we begin to recognize the many ways in which He is at work in our lives. Gratitude shifts our mindset from scarcity to abundance, reminding us that there is always more than enough when we trust in God's provision. It opens the floodgates of heaven, allowing God's blessings to flow into our lives in ways we could never have imagined. As we continue on our journey of gratitude, let us remember that it is a practice, not a one-time event. Each day is an opportunity to give thanks for the goodness of God. The more we practice gratitude, the more it becomes a natural part of who we are. It shapes our hearts, minds, and spirits, aligning us with God's will and drawing us closer to His heart. Gratitude brings us peace, joy, and contentment, and allows us to see the beauty and blessings that are all around us. Every morning is a new chance to give thanks, to recognize God's goodness, and to live in alignment with His divine purpose for our lives. Let us embrace each day with a heart full of thanksgiving, knowing that as we do, we are inviting God to lead us, guide us, and bless us beyond measure. As we continue to practice gratitude each morning, let us remember that it is not just a ritual or a mere habit, but a profound way of living. It is the acknowledgement of God's unwavering presence and the recognition of His divine blessings in all aspects of our lives. Every moment that we breathe, every step we take, and every gift we receive comes from the gracious hand of our Creator. When we begin our day with thankfulness, we are shifting the focus from the distractions and challenges of the world to the infinite goodness of God. We are consciously choosing to turn our hearts toward Him and express our dependence on His love and provision. Starting the day with gratitude creates a spiritual foundation that can carry us through even the most difficult of circumstances. There will be moments when things don't go as planned, when obstacles appear too big to overcome, and when we feel overwhelmed. But in these moments, gratitude can be our anchor, reminding us that God's promises are true and that He will never leave us or forsake us. By simply thanking Him for His presence, we invite His peace into our hearts. When our hearts are filled with gratitude, fear, doubt, and anxiety cannot take root. We begin to see beyond the immediate struggles and understand that God's plan is always greater than any momentary setback. There is something so beautiful and transforming about starting the day with a prayer of thanks. It becomes a sacred act of submission, where we acknowledge that our lives are not our own, but belong to Him. By surrendering our plans, worries, and hopes to Him, we demonstrate trust in His guidance. This prayerful attitude sets the tone for the rest of the day, shifting our focus from what we do not have to all that we do have. It causes us to stop and reflect on the countless ways that God has shown up in our lives, the relationships we have, the strength He provides, and the opportunities He opens for us. When we begin each day by thanking God, we are opening ourselves to His divine will. We are choosing to move in alignment with His purpose, trusting that He will direct our steps. Gratitude is also a powerful way of cultivating a positive mindset. In a world that often emphasizes what we lack or what we desire, gratitude helps us refocus on what is already abundant in our lives. It teaches us to look at our circumstances through the lens of God's provision and grace. When we give thanks, we remind ourselves that there is always something to be thankful for, no matter how small it may seem. Whether it's the warm rays of sunlight that greet us in the morning, or the kindness of a friend, every blessing is a reflection of God's love. By expressing gratitude, we not only acknowledge these blessings, but also invite more of God's goodness into our lives. When we give thanks for what we have, it opens the door for even greater blessings to flow in. Gratitude aligns us with God's heart, and when we align ourselves with Him, we can trust that He will continue to pour His blessings into our lives. Moreover, gratitude leads to greater contentment. In a culture that constantly pushes for more success, more possessions, more achievements, gratitude teaches us to appreciate what we already have. It helps us to see that true fulfillment does not come from external accomplishments, but from recognizing the gifts we have already received. By giving thanks each morning, we cultivate a sense of peace and satisfaction, knowing that we are enough just as we are. We don't need to chase after things to feel fulfilled, because our fulfillment comes from the presence of God. We are whole and complete in Him. Gratitude reminds us of this truth and helps us to walk in the freedom that comes from knowing that we are already blessed. This practice of giving thanks also has a profound effect on our relationships. When we are thankful, we are more likely to express appreciation to others. Gratitude opens our hearts to those around us, and it encourages us to look for the good in others. Instead of focusing on what others may not have done or how they may have disappointed us, gratitude shifts our focus to the positive qualities in the people we interact with. It helps us to see them through the eyes of love and grace rather than judgment or criticism. When we express gratitude for the people in our lives, we strengthen our relationships and create a sense of mutual respect and admiration. A thankful heart is always generous with its love and appreciation. Furthermore, gratitude strengthens our faith. When we reflect on the ways God has blessed us, we are reminded of His faithfulness and provision in the past. This remembrance encourages us to trust Him more fully in the present and future. Gratitude is a testimony of God's goodness and a declaration that we believe in His promises. Each time we thank Him, we affirm that we believe He is working in our lives, even when we cannot see the full picture. Gratitude helps us to remember that God is sovereign and that everything He does is for our good. This unwavering faith in God's character and His ability to work all things together for good allows us to face the challenges of life with hope and confidence. One of the most beautiful aspects of gratitude is its ability to transform our outlook on life. When we approach each day with a heart of thanksgiving, we begin to see the beauty in even the smallest moments. The mundane becomes sacred, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Gratitude helps us to appreciate life as it is, not just as we wish it to be. It opens our eyes to the blessings we may have overlooked or taken for granted. By simply pausing to give thanks, we become more present and aware of God's presence in our lives. We begin to see that He is at work in every moment, whether in the joy of a sunny morning or in the quiet stillness of a rainy afternoon. With gratitude, we are able to appreciate each day as a precious gift, knowing that God is with us in every moment. In addition to transforming our perspective, gratitude also enhances our emotional well-being. It has been scientifically proven that people who regularly practice gratitude experience lower levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. Gratitude shifts our mindset from focusing on the negative aspects of life to recognizing the positive, which can significantly improve our mood. When we express thanks, we are acknowledging the goodness of God, and this act of recognition fills our hearts with peace and joy. We are less likely to become consumed by worry or fear when we are focused on all the things we have to be grateful for. Gratitude helps us to release negative emotions and cultivate a heart of joy and contentment. Gratitude is not only an individual practice, but also a communal one. When we express gratitude, we create an atmosphere of gratitude around us. Our thankfulness becomes contagious, and it has the power to uplift those around us. When we thank God for His blessings, we invite others to do the same. Gratitude is a unifying force, bringing people together in a shared recognition of God's goodness. As we express our gratitude, we inspire others to reflect on the ways God has been faithful in their lives. It creates a ripple effect, spreading love and encouragement throughout our communities. Lastly, gratitude opens our hearts to greater opportunities. When we are thankful for what we have, we position ourselves to receive more from God. Gratitude shifts our focus from lack to abundance, from scarcity to prosperity. It opens our eyes to the possibilities that lie ahead, reminding us that God is always at work, preparing us for something greater. By giving thanks for the present, we make room for God's future blessings to flow into our lives. Gratitude is an invitation for God to do more in us and through us. And when we respond with a heart of thankfulness, we make ourselves available for the next chapter of God's plan. Each day, as we rise and reflect on all that God has done, let us remember that gratitude is a powerful tool that transforms our hearts and minds. It deepens our connection with God, strengthens our faith, and opens our eyes to the blessings all around us. Through gratitude, we not only honor God, but also invite His peace, joy, and provision into every area of our lives. As we give thanks each morning, we are setting ourselves on a path of blessing, peace, and divine purpose. Let us continue to cultivate hearts of gratitude, knowing that as we do, we will experience the fullness of God's love and grace in every moment of our lives. As we step into each new day, let us take a moment to center ourselves and remind our hearts that gratitude is not just a word we speak, but a way of life. In the quiet moments of our morning, before the world rushes in, we have the sacred opportunity to acknowledge God's presence and grace. We are reminded of the fact that God is not a distant figure, but a loving Father who is intimately involved in every detail of our lives. When we begin each day with thanksgiving, we are aligning ourselves with His will, opening our hearts to receive His blessings, and positioning ourselves to see His hand at work in all things. Gratitude is a spiritual practice that allows us to reconnect with our purpose and our Creator. It is not merely about being thankful for what we have, but it's about acknowledging the greatness of God and recognizing that everything we have is a gift from Him. The beauty of gratitude is that it shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have. When we give thanks, we are acknowledging that the things we often take for granted, our health, our family, our jobs, and the ability to breathe and live, are not just coincidences, but are divine gifts from a loving God. By practicing gratitude each morning, we invite God's presence into our hearts and allow His peace to wash over us. When we open our eyes in the morning, we are reminded of the countless ways in which God has already provided for us, from the simplest things like the warmth of the sunlight or the ability to take a deep breath, to the greater things such as the relationships we are blessed with and the work He has set before us. There is always something to be thankful for. And even in those moments when life feels heavy, when the world seems overwhelming, and when the weight of our problems threatens to consume us, gratitude becomes our shield. It is in those very moments that we must pause and thank God for His presence, for His promises, and for the strength that He provides. When we practice gratitude, we are actively choosing to focus on the goodness of God rather than the trials that come our way. Life may not always be easy, and we may face difficulties that challenge us beyond measure, but in those moments we have the choice to give thanks. In fact, the more we are faced with challenges, the more we should turn our hearts to gratitude. The Bible teaches us to give thanks in all circumstances, not because we are thankful for the trials themselves, but because we trust that God is working in and through them. Even in the hardest moments, we know that He is with us, carrying us through, and that His plan for us is far greater than what we can see in the present moment. There is something profoundly humbling about waking up each day and taking a moment to acknowledge the blessings that surround us. It reminds us that we are not in control of everything, but that God is. We do not have to figure it all out on our own because He has already gone before us. Each morning as we offer our thanks, we are surrendering our lives to His divine guidance. It is a beautiful act of trust and faith, acknowledging that He is the source of every good thing in our lives. It is a simple but powerful reminder that He is the one who holds our future in His hands, and that no matter what lies ahead, He will be with us every step of the way. Gratitude also has the power to shift our mindset and transform the way we see the world. It changes our perspective from one of scarcity to one of abundance. Often we find ourselves focused on what we don't have, the things we are striving for, or the desires that have not yet been fulfilled. But when we take the time to give thanks, we begin to see that we already have everything we need in this moment. We realize that the blessings we have, though they may seem small at times, are far more than enough. And in recognizing this, we are able to let go of the need to constantly pursue more. We find contentment in the present moment, knowing that God has provided for us in every way. Furthermore, gratitude has a ripple effect. When we practice thankfulness in our own lives, it spreads to others. Gratitude is contagious. When we choose to give thanks, we not only invite more blessings into our own lives, but we also become a blessing to those around us. Our words of gratitude can uplift others, encourage them in their own journey, and inspire them to cultivate a heart of thankfulness as well. When we express gratitude to others, we are acknowledging their worth and showing them that we see and appreciate the goodness in their lives. Gratitude then becomes a tool for building stronger relationships and fostering a spirit of unity and love. As we continue to practice gratitude each day, we may find that it transforms our relationships with others as well. When we approach others with a thankful heart, we begin to see them not as obstacles or irritations, but as people who have been placed in our lives for a reason. We begin to appreciate the unique qualities they bring to our world and recognize that just like us, they are walking through life with their own struggles, joys, and dreams. Gratitude opens our hearts to be more patient, more understanding, and more compassionate toward others. It helps us to forgive more readily, to show kindness without expecting anything in return, and to love more deeply. There is also power in collective gratitude. When we come together as a community to offer our thanks to God, there is a spiritual unity that is created. The Bible encourages us to give thanks together in the assembly of believers, for there is something powerful about joining our voices in worship and thanksgiving. When we gather with others to praise God, and thank Him for His goodness. Our hearts are lifted and our faith is strengthened. It is a reminder that we are not alone in this journey and that we are part of a greater family that shares in the blessings and burdens of life. Together, our gratitude becomes a form of worship, honoring God and acknowledging His faithfulness in our lives. In times of difficulty, when it feels as though we are walking through a storm, gratitude can become the anchor that holds us steady. When we don't know where to turn or what to do, gratitude reminds us that we can still find peace in the midst of the storm. It centers us on the truth that God is faithful, that He is sovereign, and that He is working everything for our good. Even in our darkest moments, we can still give thanks for His presence and for the hope that He offers. Gratitude helps us to remember that the storm is temporary, but God's love and faithfulness are eternal. It shifts our focus from the chaos around us to the peace that is found in Him alone. When we reflect on the blessings in our lives, we also begin to see the ways in which God has shaped and molded us through our experiences. Every challenge we face, every triumph, and every moment of growth is a testimony to His work in us. Gratitude becomes an opportunity to reflect on the person we are becoming and to give thanks for the transformation that is taking place in our hearts. We may not always see the changes immediately, but as we look back, we can see how God has been faithful to shape us, refine us, and help us grow into the people He created us to be. In this journey of life, it is easy to get caught up in the business of our days, the demands of our work, and the distractions of the world. But gratitude grounds us in the present moment and helps us to remain focused on what truly matters. It invites us to slow down, to pause and to take in the blessings that surround us. Let us remember that every new day is a gift from God, and it is an opportunity to give thanks for all that He has done and will continue to do in our lives. Gratitude not only transforms our hearts, but also transforms our entire outlook on life. It fills us with peace, joy, and contentment, and it strengthens our faith and relationships. As we give thanks for the blessings we have, we open ourselves to receive even more of God's goodness. And as we share our gratitude with others, we create a ripple effect of blessing and love that extends far beyond ourselves. So let us continue to thank God for each day, each breath, and each blessing, knowing that He is good. He is faithful and He is with us always. In conclusion, as we start each new day, let us remember the profound power of gratitude. It is a practice that centers our hearts, aligns our spirits with God's will, and transforms the way we see the world. By giving thanks, we acknowledge that every blessing, big or small, is a gift from our loving Creator, and we open ourselves to His presence in every moment. Gratitude shifts our perspective from scarcity to abundance, reminding us of the countless ways God has already provided for us. When we give thanks, we not only honor God's faithfulness in our own lives, but we also inspire those around us to embrace a heart of thankfulness. Gratitude strengthens relationships, builds community, and fosters unity in ways that words alone cannot express. Even in the most challenging of times, gratitude becomes our anchor, keeping us grounded in the truth that God is with us, working all things for our good. So as we rise each morning, let us take a moment to reflect, to offer our thanks, and to trust in the blessings yet to come. Let gratitude be our daily prayer, for in it we find peace, joy, and the assurance that God is with us every step of the way. May we continue to count our blessings, knowing that with a grateful heart, we are drawing closer to the abundant life that God has promised us.